Hello, welcome to JIBRIN Angle on Oweleke TV. My name is JIBRIN, and today we are having Barrister Manta, as always, to discuss some issues that actually came up in the Nigerian polity this week. It has to do with the 3.7 trillion naira that Senator Ningi talked about. I think it was a kind of an exposure of some things that was done with the budget. And we shall be talking about the suspension. Actually, I think the Senate suspended him for that. They probably see that as misconduct or whatever, the way, or I don't know what they tagged it. We shall be talking about that. Barrister Manta will give us all the details about that, and you will hear getting his opinion and my opinion on the matter as well. And we shall also be talking about the abductions. We heard about this abduction. The other one, I think, happened last week, about 280 something, 87 or thereabout, abducted victims sometimes last week. So we shall be talking about that. We shall be bringing you updates on that. And we shall also be talking about, there is this 18 victims also that were abducted at Gonigora in Kaduna. I think the 287 is in Kaduna, and the other one is, I think, okay, the one for the 287, we learned yesterday they demanded for 1 billion naira. The one for 18 victims, 18 victims were abducted. Surprisingly, I don't know if you'll correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's what I read in the news. They demanded for, I think, 40 trillion for 18 people. That's what I read on the news. I think we'll look at TV even I think carried the news as well. So those are the issues we shall be talking about. Once again, Barrister Manta, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Yes, let's get into that immediately. Please, can you give us, I don't know, I didn't read in details about this whole budget padding saga. We all know budget has always been padded. It's not only in Nigeria, even in the US, they do the same thing. They do budget padding. So they hide so many things on, because the truth is, generally people, especially some of these legislators, are lazy. Nobody reads. Like that of the US, we have a whole lot of books and pages that runs in thousands of pages or whatever. Most of these guys, they don't have the time. Okay, or anyway, they don't actually read it. It is their official staff, their staff that reads, that goes through all these things and tell them whatever. Most times they don't even go into detail. So, and that is why you see most budgets, even not just in Nigeria alone, are padded. It's sort of because some cynical or mischievous people, or greedy people, let me use that word, greedy legislators sometimes hide something that is most time, or if not all the time, in their interests and the interest of lobbyists, because we have lobbyists, outside people who are influencing the legislators to do all these things, sort of. So please, can you update us and give us details of this issue of budget padding?
Thank you very much, viewers. As always, I prefer to always give a background to allow the viewers to understand the topic very well. If you recall, on the return to civil rule in 1999, one of the members that was elected to the Senate was the retired AIG of police. and he gave an interview that he was sitting in the Senate with people he had investigated and put behind bars when he was in service in the police. And in his opinion, they were rogues and had no place in a decent society, not to talk of being in a leadership position like the Senate.
Yeah, sorry, before you go, can you remind me? Yeah, I think I remember that story, but I can't remember very clearly. But probably as you go on, I'll be able to remember. Who was the AIG? Retired AIG.
AIG was AIG Nuhu. I can't remember his other name.
Okay.
AIG Nuhu. He was from Kaduna, if you can recall.
Oh, okay, yeah. Nuhu Aliu. Yeah. He lives in Banawa. Yes, because I had something to do with I had a kind of engagement with his wife. We traveled together.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
So he gave an interview and said he was sitting there in the Senate with people he had investigated, he had put in behind bars, and in his opinion, they had no character. They were not supposed to be in a decent society, not to talk of being in leadership positions like the Senate. The Senate then promptly suspended him for bringing the Senate to disrepute.
According to them.
The Senate have rules that if you bring the institution to disrepute, the Senate can suspend you. After spending several months at home without salary and allowances, he was forced to apologize to the Senate. He apologized and he was recalled. Now, in 2016, a member of the House of Reps raised an alarm that the nation's budget was padded. The House also promptly suspended him then. Now, this padding is a euphemism for unlawful tampering with the budget, a sort of criminal tampering with the budget.
Yes.
And inflation of the budget. So everything around tampering with the budget, around inflating the budget, around allocating money for non-existent projects, or not attaching projects to a particular sum allocated. All these come under the heading of budget padding. So that one was also suspended in 2016. Now in 2024, Senator Ningi raised the same allegations of budget padding, which he said is up to the tune of 3.7 trillion. According to him, there are no projects attached to about 3.7 trillion that is put in the budget. Now, the Senate has again promptly suspended him. Well, he will be at home. Already, they have been cajoling him to come and apologize to the Senate so that they can recall him, bring him back. But that is the position now. For now, he has been given a 3-month suspension. And to think that there were senators who raised a motion that he should be suspended for 12 months. Others said he should be suspended for 6 months. Eventually, the Senate settled for 3 months. And I heard Senator Lawan say that he warned him not to not to make that kind of allegation that he will be dealt with, but he didn't listen. So that is the condition that we find the Nigerian situation. It's so absurd that you cannot even raise something. It is not that what you said is false. It is that it has put the Senate in bad light. And for that reason, you are to be punished. And that reminds me of when Buhari was the military head of state and he promulgated decree number 2. If you said anything that embarrasses the government, whether it is true or not, you will be put in prison. That was the decree. If you like 100% of what you say is the truth, but once it embarrasses the government, you have committed an offense and you'll be put in jail. That is akin to what the Senate is doing today and what it has been doing.
Now, my point is this. If you suspect, although as a lawyer, you don't just assume things, you don't just believe, except you have evidence. But honestly, I believe it. I believe it 100%. But because it's been in the Nigerian, it's a Nigerian character, even though it's done in other crimes as well. But honestly, I believe it. Now, my question is this. What could be, now, because all these senators, Senator Ningi is, I think he's been there. We started from the House of Rep, sort of. So he's been in the National Assembly from the inception of democracy, Fourth Republic in Nigeria. The Fourth Republic, yeah, Third Republic, right? Wait, this present democratic dispensation is what republic? Is it third or fourth?
I think this is the third.
This is third, yeah. Yeah. Since the inception of this third republic, Senator Ningi has been at the National Assembly. So he is, when you talk of establishment, he's part of the establishment. When you talk of the corruption at the National Assembly, he is part of the corruption. So now my point is this. What do you think could be his motive, the motive behind his actions, including that of Senator Nuhu Aliyu when he did it? I remember when Nuhu Aliyu did that, I also came out to say, look, is something happened behind the scene. Probably they had disagreement because Senator Nuhu Aliyu himself, he wasn't that clean as well. So he wasn't a saint. So for him to come out and do that, I just said, no, this man, there is something behind it. Now, the same question, the same suspicion I'm having when with this issue of Ningi. What do you think? What do you think will be the purpose, the reason, the motive behind Ningi coming out, blowing this thing up, up in the public?
Let me say that whatever the motive, it is not altruistic. It is not in the national interest. It is purely personal disputes, personal original disputes that have arisen in the Senate that has thrown up this thing. Just like you said, Ningi has been there since 1999. This pardon has been going on, and I can bet my life that he has benefited from the pardon in the past in the House of Reps. Now, when you zero in on this present Senate, there's a lot of disquiet. First, on regional terms, you know, the contest between Akpabio and the northern senators for the North to hold the position of Senate President.
Yes.
That one was there. Then coming to the budget, if you hear what is being said or what is coming up now, you understand why there is uproar on this budget. I'll just give you an example. I read yesterday that in the budget of the Ministry of Agric alone, Akpabio senatorial district alone, not the whole of Akwa Ibom, received over 90 billion worth of projects.
What?
I'm going to go to that in a few minutes. I'm just giving you a breakdown. Some senators said, look, some of you got over 500 million naira from the Senate. Yes. I didn't get a kobo. You understand? So there has been an uproar that, look, these senators, some of them, we are supposed to be the same. Where you as the presiding officer is just first among equals.
Yes.
We are all senators elected by our people. How come you are now getting so much from the budget, and me also a fellow senator, I'm not getting anything. Because the truth of it is that when these projects are put in your constituency, you are the one that directly brings the contractor. You are in charge of those projects. So by and large, it is taken as if the money is given to allocated to you, because you determine how it is how those projects are executed. So they are not even covering it up, saying project are in your distance. They say you got 500 million. Me, I did not get anything. So you can understand where the problem is. And then when you put the total amount all together, trillions, 3.7 trillion, it's a huge, huge, huge amount that has been padded in the budget for the benefit of certain people. So you can understand now, coupled with that previous geopolitical fight for the Senate leadership between the North and the South, and now this, which disproportionate the North, you will see where this thing is coming from. And if you see the debate in the Senate, most likely, most of the senators that were speaking in support of Ningi were from the North. And those defending the Senate president and Senate leadership are from the South. So you can see where the problem is that led Ningi to come out. And for the fact that this other senator said he warned Senator Ningi, it meant that he had already passed this thing among some of his senator friends,
yes,
to see their reaction before taking it to the floor of the Senate. So whatever it is not based on national interest.
of course,
it's based on personal aggrandizement and feeling that they have been shortchanged personally. That is just the bottom line.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. Just like I noted, Ningi is part of the establishment. So for him to just come all of a sudden and try to be a saint, pretending to be a saint, is not just uncalled for. Now, you see, I remember when this budget came out, you can imagine 3.7 trillion naira in the budget. I remember when this budget came out, I tagged and labeled it the budget of thieves and rogues. Now, for those of you, some people who came criticizing me, hitting my head, some even petitioned the National Security Advisor on this matter. Petitioned against me, the National NSA against me. Was I wrong to have tagged that budget? A budget of thieves and rogues. I wasn't wrong. You can imagine 3.7. This is a budget that only about 5% was allocated, was set aside, was projected for capital projects. Just 5%, for God's sake, out of a budget of, I think, 27 trillion, right? 27.
Yes.
Out of budget of 27 trillion, only 5% of 27 trillion naira was allocated to capital projects. Now, you can imagine, for us to now find out that 3.7 of this same budget that are allocated only 5% to capital project has extra 3.7, this budget has extra 3.7 trillion naira that has nothing to do with any project at all, just lying there, just for corrupt purposes. Because obviously this money will eventually trickle down, goes to private pockets. And of course, this is a justification, a confirmation to the label that I gave the budget, that the budget is actually a budget of thieves and rogues. That budget is that, and that is why is Nigeria passing through what we are passing? Why has things gotten worse than last year today? It is because of the budget. I said it, that budget is what rules the economy of a country. And that is just the truth. when you see the budget, what the budget says is what you should expect from the economy of a country. If the budget is positive, expect positive outcome, positive economic reaction from it. If it is negative, if it is bad, if it is negative, expect negative reaction from the economy. That's exactly what we are. Look, and people keep saying, I don't know when things are getting worse and getting worse. People are saying, government, you have to change course. You have to do this. You have to do that. Things will get better. And you see some analysts coming on air say, no, things will get better. Is Tinubu's this is the teething stage of Tinubu's government. Things will get better, will get rough and later get better. And I keep telling people, I say, why are these people? Some of them, you see them, they are economists, they are professionals, they are professors, they are learned people, they are exposed and civilized or whatever. Why will you expect anything good when you have the budget? Budget will give you a picture. It is the image. Budget is the image of the economy. When you look at the Bible says, when the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do? When the foundation of any building is faulty, that building will not stand. It cannot stand. So my point is, anyone that comes and says, any analyst, a political commentator, economist, economic commentator, or analyst, or whatever that comes and say, to try to pacify us by saying that things will get better. This is just this stage is just this is just that, just the foundation. Things will get better. It will get rough and get better. What will get better? It will not get better because the budget does not say so. The budget is the foundation of the economy. How do you expect it to get better? And this is part of the problem. 3.7 trillion naira, for God's sake, embedded in the budget in a very, very criminal way. That is the point. You can imagine this kind of ways. That 3.7. Do you know what it means? If 3.79, what it will do to the economy if 3.7 trillion naira is allocated or spent on capital project. My God, we are talking about trillion, for God's sake, 3.7 trillion. Do you know what the kind of if not a glaring transformation, but at least significant transformation it will give to the economy? And now this 3.7 trillion naira is going to individual pockets. Now let me ask, now that they have suspended the senator, okay, the purpose of the suspension of the senator is that by what I understand is, okay, why did you have to take it out? Okay, even though this is true, yeah, what you said is true, why did you have to take it to the public? Now that it has gone to the not gone public, and he has been suspended, what is the fate of this case, of this issue? Is it going to be investigated? Is it being investigated, or is it going to be investigated, or they have just, like every other budget padding fiasco, they've just swept it under the carpet?
Well, you are asking a question that you already know the answer, because in the first place, who submitted the budget to the National Assembly? Is it not the government? The president. Is the government that submitted the budget. They saw these figures, they put them. You have only mentioned 3.7 trillion, to which projects have not been attached. Now, when you look at the other monies to which projects have been attached, you will see a horrendous superinflation.
Figures,
I will give you a few examples. They budgeted a sum of 82.5 billion for 427 boreholes.
Hi, my God.
Now, at that amount, you are constructing one single borehole for 193 million.
Yeah, I think I read that report yesterday.
193 million for one single borehole.
Borehole of less than 1 million naira.
Even if you take the solar panels that power the borehole, everything is
maybe
not
1.5. It will help, maybe 2 million or whatever.
Just less the generous, it's not up to 5 million. Now you have put it at the rate of 193 million per borehole. They have put how much? 212 billion for 1,150 street lights. That means at the rate of 184 million per one street light. For one light. They have put 30.9 billion for 170 so-called ICT projects without description. And they have put 7.6 billion for empowerment of traditional rulers.
My God.
What do you mean by empowerment of traditional rulers? That are taken care of by the local government. Not what is the business of the federal government with empowering the traditional rulers that are subject to the state and the local government. So if you just begin to go into this budget, it is unbelievable. And you will see now why the suspension is there. The suspension of Ningi, who is a popular senator, has cowed all other senators. Somebody, this man, Pat told me, was bemoaning yesterday that he's disappointed with Labour Party senators for not spearheading something like this. But he is forgetting that there's a history behind this. If you raise up your head, they cut it off. If you raise up your head, they cut it off. That's why I gave you that background. Back to Senator Nuhu Aliu, and then in 27. Once you do that, because this thing has been agreed upon, it is not one person that just brought these figures and put. They have the powers that be have sat together and agreed upon these figures and brought it. So who are you to now stand up to start challenging them? You serve your punishment until you come and apologize. You make written apology that you were wrong and you apologize to the Senate before they will bring you back. That is what they are telling Ningi now to do, to quietly write an apology to the Senate so that they will see if they can cut out the 3 months suspension and bring him back before that time. So this is what is on ground. These largesses have been agreed upon. You are going to take this. Let me go down to, I was telling you about a budget in one ministry, Ministry of Agri, for Akpabio's constituency.
Yes, it's a 9 billion, right?
Now, 90 billion.
90 billion, wow.
In the Ministry of Agri alone. Now, Akpabio is from Akwa Ibom. And Akwa Ibom, like every other state, has 3 senatorial districts. His own senatorial district is the Northwest Senatorial District of Akwa Ibom. And he has only 10 local governments. Now, in the budget of one ministry, that is Ministry of Agri alone, they have appropriated projects worth 90 billion to that particular constituency.
My God.
Only those 10 local governments.
My God.
Now, when other people see this, you can now understand why the opposition and the protest is coming out. Just Ministry of Agri, the budget is still being studied. You know, just like you said, it's still, even in Nigeria, it's a heavy and bulky document. Why? A lot of senators don't even go through it. They don't read it. But in the face of Ningi's revolution, people are now taking time to go through it step by step to see what is there. Now, if you go to that agri project, 90 billion, most of those projects, the agri ministry do not even have the capacity to do those projects. Some of them are outside their core mandate as a Ministry of Agri. And it was not the budget that was submitted by the ministry, this amount were added to it.
My God.
At a point. So you see, from whatever you can think of in that constituency, communications, technical center, community schools, supply of sewing machines, hairdressing, barbing equipment, deep freezers, district health palace. So now the federal government is going to Akpabio to construct a palace for the district head in Akpabio's constituency. How absurd can we go? What has the federal government got to do with the palace of the district head, a district head in Akpabio's constituency? The absurdity is unbelievable. But in Nigeria, people take everything for granted. You hear no protest. When Nuhu Aliyu was suspended back then, nobody protested. When the honorable member was suspended in 2016, nobody protested. Even as Ningi has been suspended now, there's no protest. So they get away with it. They get away with it. It has become a norm. You don't raise your head, we will chop it off, and nothing will happen.
Yeah, no
So
protest. No, yeah, this issue of protest. You see, people Nigerians don't protest just because majority of Nigerians think the way they have my kind of opinion that these are establishments. They just like you said, it is not a patriotic interest. It is not in the interest of patriotism. It is just for selfish interest. Everybody know, we all know. That's why there's no, why do you have to protest for someone that is part of them? They are all thieves, sort of. So that's understandable. However, this issue of protest, honestly, I keep asking, at what point will Nigerians say it's enough? Enough. Because this is crazy. Can you imagine? Just look at what all the items you just went through right now. Does it make sense? For God's sake, borehole, 40-something boreholes at 80-something billion, you said? Or 80-something billion rather. Did you say 80-something billion naira? Yes. For God's sake, each borehole for 100-something million. One borehole.
193 million per borehole.
Almost 200 million for one borehole. Borehole that is on the average maybe between 3 and 5 million naira. For God's sake, what kind of corruption is this? For God's sake, 90 billion for God's sake for just one senatorial district, and not just the entire. It's just one particular sector in that senatorial district.
One ministry's allocation. We don't know what is in other ministries' allocation.
Oh my God.
Inside that one, they budgeted 2.9 billion for starter packs for youth and women. That's to buy is it MTN or this service provider, telecom service provider, to buy SIM cards. 2.9 billion. How is that? Where some of these things used to give their SIM cards free of charge.
Honestly,
so you put 2.9 billion.
I laugh and smile, but honestly, the laughter and smile is the laughter and smile of pain. Pain, excruciating pain. And I don't know, honestly, it's so sad that things are just, these people are just taking Nigerians for granted. And Nigerians, I don't know if I would say we have become so helpless. I don't know if we have become so helpless, or I don't know. The whole thing is just irritating. For God's sake. And when I call this budget the budget of thieves and rogues, someone went against me and wrote the national security advisor that I am and the enemy of the country.
So look at the sum of 3.3 trillion, not billion, 3.3 trillion has been allocated to the National Assembly, INEC, and others without specifying the project that these bodies are to do with it. Is that a budget? That's not a budget. Budgets are attached to particular projects and based on reasonable market estimates of how much it takes to bring up that project. Then you allocate 3.3 trillion to agencies without stating what they are supposed to do with that amount. If we had any sense, this budget should have been taken back and the whole process started. But this is Nigeria. It has been passed with speed and assented to. So where do we go from there? And you can bet your life that before the year runs out, there will be a supplementary budget. I can bet you now, quote me, before the life of this budget finishes, there will be a supplementary budget.
Of course.
The government will come in with a supplementary
of
budget.
course, has there any year that we never had that supplementary budget? It will always come. That is just a norm in the Nigerian system. Honestly, this is so sad. This is so sad because people are dying of poverty. This is so sad because people are dying because they cannot afford basic needs of life. Yet you have very few, less than 1% of the population just commandeering the entire wealth of the nation. Keep piling up their wealth that even their children, great-grandchildren cannot even exhaust in their entire lifetime. They keep piling up wealth that will, if Jesus tarries, the wealth that will outlive them after over 100 years. They just keep piling it. What is the essence of piling something up that is just too much for you? When you have poor people riddled around all over the country. It is so irritating. Unfortunately, we will never get. I'm not a pessimist. I'm just a realist. I tell people, some people say, why are you a pessimist? You seem to be a pessimist. I'm not a pessimist. I am not an optimist. I am just a realist. I always tell people sometimes, I say, look, I am in between. I'm that kind of person who just look at situation, assess the entire situation, review the entire situation, and make my judgment. And that's what we call realists. That is what I am. I am neither a pessimist or an optimist. I am just the person. I'm that person who just says it the way it looks and the way it feels. Nothing good. Tinubu's government, yes, we've had issue of every successive government have always done worse than their predecessor. Honestly, but the truth is, the moving away between based on ratio or statistics, informal, at least my own analysis, that the ratio and the pace at which we had this experience in the past, where successive government did worse than their predecessor, the ratio is far lower than what we are experiencing now. The pulling away, Buhari was the monster. That was a monster. It was a monstrous government. Now, as monstrous as Buhari was, okay, he pulled away from Jonathan. There's no doubt about very broadly fast. Now, Tinubu is, look at just barely a year, or not up to a year. By May, we're in the 10th month or so. Just 10 months into the new administration, just measure the ratio at which the current administration is pulling away from the past administration of Buhari that we all consider to be a monstrous administration. It is so broad. This pulling away is unprecedented. And it's going to be, unfortunately, there's nothing beyond unprecedented. Otherwise, we would have used that same word. By the end of 4 years of Tinubu, Nigeria will get so beaten up so battered, unfortunately, because there is no end in sight. Look at what we're talking about the budget now. This is crazy. What do you expect from a government that presented such budget? Some budget that is so awash and agog or riddled with enmeshed with unquantifiable corruption, immeasurable corruption. There's nothing. This is the foundation of the government. Of course, that is the point. It's so sad, honestly, so sad. I feel so pain. Unfortunately, we are just helpless. We are handcuffed. All of us are handcuffed. There's nothing we can do. We just sit down, look.
We are helpless because the people that are crooked, the corrupt people are going from strength to strength.
That is it. Now we are getting weaker.
If you look at somebody like Akpabio, who has court case, EFCC cases of over 200 billion from his tenure as governor of Akwa Ibom. What happened? He came into the Senate and became the minority leader. From being minority leader, he jumped to APC, became a minister of Niger Delta, another cash cow, only for him to emerge as Senate president. So what do you expect? They go from strength to strength. It is virtually impossible for a credible person, a person with integrity, to find himself in the corridors of power today. It's virtually impossible, because the process that will carry you there has no integrity. So if you are a person of integrity, unless you want to join the ones without integrity, you cannot join the process. You cannot go into the government. And if you want to maintain your integrity, you sit in your house. You will not join what we are doing now in the Nigeria as politics in Nigeria, because you will not advance. You will not go anywhere. It is these people that go from strength to strength, and that is why things in Nigeria go from bad to worse. There's no government that, under this circumstance, there's no government that will come and do better than the previous government. It will only be worse than the previous government, because the people, the corrupt people, only extended and became stronger. So things cannot go better. They can only go worse.
Honestly, it's so sad. Again, I ask Nigerians, all of us, we Nigerians, at what point shall we say that it is enough? At what point shall we call the bluff of the establishment? At what point shall we rise up to the occasion and do the needful, the right thing? These guys are just killing us. For God's sake. It's so sad, honestly. So sad. Let's move to another irritating topic, which has to do with abduction, kidnapping here and there. Barrister, 280 something people, about 87, I don't know if I'm right, 287 students were abducted from their school. And what is the situation? Can you update us? What school was that? I didn't even know. What school is that in Kaduna?
It's a government school in Kuriga, a town called Kuriga in Kajuru local government. Before now, they moved from where the school was, that was on the outskirts of the town, into the town for purposes of security, and merged with the primary school. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
The secondary school was on the outskirts of the town. Because of insecurity, they were moved into the town to join with the primary school for security's sake.
Yes,
But look at
it didn't work.
today. Look at today. How on earth can you take 287 children? Some of them are 8 years.
My God.
They are between 8 years and 16, 17.
Wow.
287. You take them. In the first place, where will you take 287 children?
Honestly, these people can never be hidden.
Any credible security agency will not
be honestly nowhere.
How will you be feeding 287?
Honestly.
Even if you give them food once a day, that food has to be cooked. Smoke from the cooking will reverberate everywhere. The coming to buy the food stuff and going back in that large quantity, it must be known. I heard, I think, a military official saying yesterday that they are keeping them in a place that is difficult to access. I was laughing. That is just a slap on our face. If these ragtag kidnappers can access a place and make it their camp, how will our military that is supposed to be well trained and equipped be saying it is difficult to access? And how can this be allowed today? 227, 87 children taken from there to a far destination, miles and miles and miles. Where were the security that did not pursue them?
Yeah, when they were transiting from the one point to the next.
When they were transiting from the school. And this was not night. You are taking them from the school to your camp, which is several kilometers or miles away. Where was the security? We keep buying helicopters and this thing. Where were they that they could not track and stop these people before they reach their camp? What is happening in Nigeria? The kidnapping has resurged. There's a resurgence of banditry and kidnapping. So we have no answers, and nobody is ready to give us answers. The government is not giving answers to hard questions that must be asked of them and the security agencies. But who is there to answer? The only statement I heard is that the kidnappers are keeping these children in places that are very difficult to access. What nonsense? And what kind of rubbish statement is that? Before now, we were made to understand that the security agencies have mapped out all the camps of terrorists and kidnappers in Nigeria. You could go into their control room and on their map, the camps have all been identified and pinpointed. If that is true, why are they still operating the camps? If these camps have been identified long ago, why have they been allowed to be operational? So some of these questions, who do you even ask? I'm sitting here, whom do I ask? And who is obliged to answer me? Nobody. We only find parents, guardians of these children helpless, weeping. In my office, you know my office. Yes, we have a security guard at our gate. They kidnapped his 12-year-old son.
My God.
Wow. And we are demanding for 9 million.
What?
So the man said, didn't my son tell you who the father is? I'm a security guard.
Yeah, that's the point. Oh my God. Oh, wow.
When they called him, he said, did my son not tell you who his father is? I'm a security guard. So after more than a month, neighbors and relations, they contributed, I think, 450,000.
My God.
So they called them, they said, see what I'm able to, they say, bring it.
Shit.
They sent people, they brought it, they collected the money and drove the people away. Up till now, the son is still being held.
Wow.
So look at the situation we have boxed ourselves into in Nigeria today.
Unbelievable. Honestly, the country is just, I don't know. Anyway, I did not expect anything. I will never expect anything better from, because what do you expect? The center is corrupt. What do you expect? It's what the when the head of fish rottenness starts from the head. Fish rottenness of fish starts from the head. That's exactly what is happening. Unfortunately, these people are on rampage. The security agencies are corrupt. The relevant people who are supposed to bring these things to bear, to at least to curb this, or at least, or circumvent the current situation, the security situation, they are all corrupt. A sort of, so I don't know. Oh my God, Nigeria is just in a serious debacle. There is just no solution in sight. It is our current situation now, Nigerian current situation now is simply hopeless. Hopeless. So we just, I don't know. Now they are asking for 1 billion for this 200 or whatever. My own is, I don't know. Can you correct me if I'm wrong? Because I read this news of the one in Gonigora, 18 people were abducted, and they asked for 40 trillion naira. Is that true?
That's what we read. Just like you read, we have no way of confirming whether there was mistake by the people reporting on the figures, but that's what I read. Just like you read it, that's what we read. These 287 children, what they asked for is dollars. 600. I think they're asking for 660 something, 60 something, or $650,000. That is what they have demanded. But that Goningora, when I heard the trillions, I was like, maybe
let me answer. Who could they have? I don't understand. Who are those people in Goningora? I know Goningora so well. Who are those people in Goningora that just 18 of them that will actually, that the kidnappers think these people can provide us 40 trillion, for God's sake? Well, there is no, the Goningora, I know that area, there is no significantly rich man in Gonigora. We have rich men there, but when we talk of rich men that can actually, that kidnappers can actually assess or scan and see and project that, okay, these people can afford it. What, do we have any known, publicly known millionaire, or sorry, billionaire in Gonigora? None.
Well, I continue to feel that maybe that figure was misreported. I still do not think that that figure, the trillions they quoted, is the correct amount that they determined. But again, you must understand that the kidnappers themselves, they are not rational. Like you and me, we sit here and say, okay, I look at this person, this is what, they are not rational. Most of them are heavily drugged and drug-induced, and they say it on the basis that your family, your relations, your friends, or failing that the government will step in and help to pay up the ransom. So they are also calculating that if the situation is becoming too much, the government will step in and pay.
What government?
The last kidnapping that was done in Abuja, the Buhari, where one person had about 5 of his daughters kidnapped, if you remember.
Yes.
We mentioned it on this angle.
Yes.
When one of them was killed, one of the girls in AB was killed by the kidnappers, there was a mass sympathy.
Yeah, sympathy.
And money came from left, right, and center. And eventually they were able to pay what the kidnappers demanded, and they released them. So they are also calculating in a way that, okay, if we begin to kill these people, maybe people will rally, if the government will intervene, the government will pay money, but they will deny it. Of course, as of now, the government is saying they are not going to pay 1 kobo for these 287 children. But that is public statement. I know that behind the scenes, if they have an opportunity to pay money and get the children released, they will quickly do it so as to take credit. Although they will deny, you can bet that they will deny that no kobo was paid. But they want to take credit for the release of them. So if they have that opportunity to pay money and get them, they'll pay. It's as simple as that.
So sad. So sad, honestly. Anyway, I don't know, because we keep praying and praying. Sometimes some situation is not about prayer, it's just about doing the right thing. Honestly, sometimes I just ask myself, why is God just watching what is just, wow, watching the wicked just going on rampaging the poor, devouring the poor.
I don't think God is watching. God has given us everything that we can exist by ourselves. The rest is only us. It's only us that will do the remaining. Just like you cannot lock yourself in the house and pray for 1 month and expect to get food to eat. Of course, you will not get it.
Yes.
When you pray, you also have to follow it with action.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with us here is that we are praying and we are not doing anything.
Action, yeah, no action.
We are sitting down in one place and praying and hoping that God will descend and solve all our problems. It doesn't work that way. We pray and we also do what on our part we are supposed to do. That is where we are getting it wrong. And as long as the people are docile and fail to rise up, the ones that are active will continue because they have no challenge.
Anyway, so sad. All right, I think that brings us to the end of, except Barrister still has something to say. Otherwise, I think this brings us to the end of this show for today. Again, my name is Jibrin, and we have been having this insightful conversation with Barrister A.A. Manta. He is a principal partner of A.A. Manta & Co. And I think this is a show that this is what we do on this show. For some of you who have been following this show, this is exactly what we do. Just bring up the topic, topic of the day, the things that are happening, and we give you our opinion on it, and that is just it. Once again, if you're joining us for the first time, please subscribe and set on your notification bell, and so that whenever we upload such thing, you'll be able to view us. Thank you so very much. Barrister, thank you very much once again for making our time for this show. Thank you for all the information. Thank you for the information, the insightful opinion you just gave to us. Remain blessed.